It's British Grand Prix weekend here in southern England, and before the Grand Prix cars hit the course, it's the Saloon Cars which will delight the spectators. We're here at Brands Hatch for round number 5 of the 1966 British Saloon Car Championship and part 26 of my 1966 series, where I take on the role of our intrepid racing driver Richie Axelson and race in everything and anything and everywhere possible. This is the first Saloon Car race for Richie in our season. Still recovering from a bird strike in practice for the French Grand Prix, Jim Clark has chosen to sit out the WSCC event and save his energy for the Grand Prix itself. So in his place, Colin Chapman and Team Lotus's Cortina team offered a ride to Richie to try his hand at this exciting series. 1966 was a transformative year for the WSCC. Expanded regulations with the adoption of Group 5 spec allowed for more engine, suspension, and brake customizations while still retaining the stock appearance which made this series so popular. Because of these changes, for 66, alongside the typical host of Cortinas and Minis, the cult classic Hillman Imp and massive Ford Falcon were able to be entered, the latter finally giving the Mustang something to race with. The WSCC was broken into 4 classes by engine size, with Group A the slowest and least powered, and Group D the fastest and highest powered. And so the series arrived at Brands Hatch in support of the Formula One Grand Prix, also racing the same full GP circuit instead of the Indy layout more commonly ran on. The absence of Jim Clark, who had won the first 2 rounds of the season in Group C, certainly added some optimism, but on the fast straights and turns of Brands, the higher powered D Group cars would certainly be at an advantage. Off the grid, it was John Whitmore for Team Lotus and the diminutive Cortina who shot out to the lead, but it wasn't long until the Falcons of Gawain Bailey and Roy Pierpoint and the Mustang of Jackie Oliver with new disc brakes found their way by. Pierpoint quickly then found his way around Bailey and worked out to a lead to take the overall victory. Bailey and Oliver had a close duel, but it was ultimately Oliver and the Ford Mustang taking second position. Whitmore held on to the Class C victory for Team Lotus, with Mike Young in his Ford Anglia overcoming a tight battle with John Rhodes and his Mini for the Group B win. And John Fitzpatrick continued his dominance with Team Broadspeed's Ford Anglia for Group A, an exciting appetizer to prep the crowd for the Grand Prix to come. And so we're here in GTR2 and Power and Glory to try our hand at the touring cars. Slipping and sliding will be on full display around this circuit in a race which will likely involve some elbows out action. And so we'll take a quick look at the track, and this is the Brands Hatch we all know and love. The track itself has changed very little in layout over the years, just some additional safety and track widening in spots. It's a difficult track, especially in these cars, to find the apex around some corners. Paddock Hill Bend is one of the trickiest tracks in all of racing, I'd say, and coming over the top of the hill in the Cortina, it's always a trick to see if you can hit that inside curb. From there it dives down and then up over the hill of Druids, making a complete 180-degree turn, sliding the whole way around before we come back down the hill and the bottom straight. Heading then left into Kidney Bend will take us past the shorter Indy course and onto the GP track as we'll head through the woods, through a series of right-hand corners, very long, very late apexes, and important ones to hit to carry the speed. Towards the end of the lap, coming to the 90-degree left-hander of Sterling's before bringing us back out through clearways, long right-hander onto the front straightaway again to start another lap. It's a track perfectly suited to these cars, in my opinion, and one I'm excited to do some racing on. Taking a look at the starting grid, I've been able to cobble together somewhat representative field for the WSCC season of 66, although some of the liveries and numbers are different. This is using Power and Glory, like I said, so we're missing a few cars, but overall not a bad recreation of the British Saloon Car Championship. Brian Muir in the Ford Falcon, the large Ford Falcon for Class D, will start out on the pole alongside Jackie Oliver in the Mustang. I think it's going to be a duel between those two up front. But then on the second row, it's Teddy Savory in another Mustang, and the real winner, Roy Pierpoint, starting in 4th in another large Ford Falcon. Working our way back further, John Whitmore starts 6th overall and on the pole for our class in Class C in his Cortina ahead of John Hine, and then a whole group of Minis with John D. Lewis leading the way for Group B. Further back in the grid, we can see Jackie X there in 13th, who we just raced with at Rouen, and all the way back in 15th is Richie Axelson in the Team Lotus Cortina. Not last in class, we got a couple cars behind me, but pretty far back. I'm going to need quite the launch off the line and then muscle my way around. I should be faster than that group of minis in front, but the trick's going to be whether or not I can get through the pack and then ultimately catch up to my teammate Whitmore and battle for the victory. This one's a bit more about fun and experiencing a little bit of the BSCC, more than racing for a championship or anything like that. This might be a one-off for Richie Axelson, but the BSCC was a huge series in the 1960s, so it's fun to get the chance to see just a little bit what it was all about. These races were all about fast, non-stop action, and so as a build-up to the Grand Prix, it was just 20 laps around the GP circuit. And keeping with the 1/3 distance I've been doing for all the races in this series, that means we have just 7 laps around Brands Hatch to try to work our way through the field. It'll most likely be impossible to catch the very fast Mustangs and Falcons, but hopefully we can get around some of the slower traffic and get up to the other Cortinas and try to battle at least for that class win. So I hope you're looking forward to this as much as I am. Let's get started with the 1966 BSCC round at Brands Hatch. Alright, so here we are on the grid. I got Jack Hicks in front of me, Mike Salmon in the Mustang there to the right. Lights are lit. Green, we're underway. Quick on the lights there. Bogged down a little bit off the line. Hicks sweeps to the inside, then the outside, then the inside. Where's he going? So we'll funnel down towards Paddock Bend, get around Salmon as well in the Mustang there. This helmet imp on the inside, gonna rush me down to the apex. Over the top of the hill though, floated through in 3rd gear. A string of minis in front. Rush up the hill then to Druids. Down to 2nd, mini in front goes too wide. Track falls away, a lot of oversteer, there we go. Around the outside of them, a lot quicker than some of the minis out back. Grab the curb on the inside and come down the short straightaway to Kidney Bean Corner, as they called it. Down to 2nd gear. Very late apex, have to take the inside line to get around that mini. Able to do so, right out to the curb and onto the straightaways of the GP course. So I think John Hine in front in the red Cortina, taking a look at, I have to imagine, it's Whitmore in front of him. Up to 4th gear then, we'll come up to Hawthorne. Down to 3rd. Not a lot of sliding there that time, that's good. Keep it nice and even. Series of these right-hand corners, so easy to miss the apex. I turned in a little too early for that one. But make it work, come up the hill and take the last right-hander. This one really tough, can't see the apex, kind of a blind entry. Gonna run quite a bit wide, out to the curb. Mini behind's gonna capitalize on that, come rack at me into Sterling. Throttle back up to the final corner on this circuit. Long sweeping right-hander once again. Keep it in 3rd gear, stick the tail out, and come to the line, complete lap number 1. This race is going to go by super fast. Got around the majority of that slow traffic right off the line, although one of the Coopers sticking to me behind. Up to P8 overall, but I think 3rd in class if I'm looking at the cars in front of me. Come over Paddock Bend, just missed the apex. Luckily the track here is very wide. Down to 2nd gear, into Druids. Left the inside open for that Cooper, but I think he's behind now. Just up to 3rd in time for the long sweeper here at the bottom of the hill. We're sticking onto the rear end of the Class D cars quite well, and that Cooper is coming back up the inside as we'll head into Kidney Corner. It's going to run wide though. Takes around the outside into the grass, but able to circle up the inside of him then. Kind of an odd over-under, but made it work. Let's see if I can sneak away down the straightaways. The Lotus Cortina, a bit quicker in a straight line than that Mini Cooper is. All right, into Hawthorne again. Some smoke on the outside. This is the fun thing about this type of racing, is just all the different types of cars. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, and different tracks, different cars will be quicker. Makes it really dynamic, especially over a full season. There's some tracks that even these slower cars can keep up with the huge lumbering V8s. All right, slow through Sterling's there, but it looks like the 2 Cortinas in front here are being held up by one of the 4 Falcons. Hine looks towards the inside of Whitmore, down to second gear. This time through the final corner. Right up to third. Mini Cooper behind, still in there. Hines gonna look towards the inside and then the outside. I'll get up the inside into Paddock Bend, try not to run wide this time. Hines, though, able to hold it on the outside, come up to Druids. He's gonna look towards the inside, or block. Don't want to hit my teammate, at least. Right on the rear end of Whitmore, though, through Druids. Come down the hill, through the fast sweeper. Oh, a little side-by-side, not too hard. I think passing Whitmore for the lead in class, looking forward at one of the Falcons in front. Down to second gear, run a bit wide into Kidney. Here comes Whitmore back on me behind. I think ran a bit hot into there too. Hines able to keep each other busy because Hines looking at him from behind. All right, focus forward a little bit. Up to fourth gear. Nice gently through Hawthorne, of course named for Mike Hawthorne. Rear tires skipping across the pavement as we corner there. Whitmore's definitely not out of sight behind. Keep my eye on the mirror there for a lunge at some point. Down to second gear for Sterling's. Really throw the car sideways. He's able to gain quite a bit there as we'll head to the final corner. Little string of Group D cars in front, but not quite as quick as the leaders, I think. Nicely through the final corner. Whitmore looking out wide, come across the line. Start lap 4. Down to third. Little Paddock Bend gonna slide wide again. Track quite a lot wider here than it was actually in 66, but I think Whitmore's gonna look up the inside as I get on the grass just a little bit there. He slots in behind, run a bit deep though. Able to hold on to it. I got the Class D car Falcon in front, I think Gawain Bailey. So not doing nearly as well as in real life. See if we can maybe pass a Class D car here before the end and keep Whitmore behind me through the long kidney bean corner. I think this track is perfectly suited for these cars. The very long corners are quite tricky to get, but once you do get them, if I can say that I am, it makes it a lot of fun. A lot of commitment in the corners too. I can only imagine having to throw the car in sideways and hoping you can slide your way through successfully. It took a lot of skill. The lack of downforce and the soft suspension makes it so awesome. The top of the hill. Almost get that corner to the right out to the curb. Second gear for Sterling's. Missed that one. And here's Whitmore behind me. A little bit untidy through the end of the lap. He'll close up on me just a little bit. And the Falcon in front is definitely quicker, but it seems like in the first sector I might have a little bit of an advantage. The long sweeper. There's really almost no straightaways on this track. Get up to fourth gear just for a second, coming to the first corner, a little tentative. Finally get the apex. Leave the inside open. Whitmore taking a look there. Nice about it. I think he's letting me have the position maybe. The celebrity racing in the British Saloon Car Championship maybe gets a little bit of a pass there. Right down to second gear through Kidney. Looks like Gawain Bailey might have passed the Mustang in front. Stretching out in front of of us as they all sorted out. This track is almost identical these days, and it really is one of the classic circuits. Held Grand Prix up into the 80s, alternating with Silverstone, and was definitely a favorite of a lot of the grid, but certainly a more dangerous track than something like Silverstone, and not really the same options for upgrading the circuit to keep it with the times. But because of that, we ended up preserving one of these all-time classic circuits and still get to see a lot of great racing on it. I come to the final corner here. Whitmore's keeping me honest behind. If I could hold together a few of the first corners without sliding too much, might be able to pull away, but as it is, you might take a lunge here coming down a paddock bend. Come across the line. Lap 6 now, just 3 to go. Slide it through, gonna run just slightly wide, but try to keep the speed up. Can hear him there, right on the right side. Come up to Druids. Dips back in behind me. Run a bit wide as I've been doing. Don't want to close the door on my teammate too hard. Come through the sweeper at the bottom of the hill. Whitmore's going to look up the inside now. Bogged down quite a lot there. I'm in a kidney bean. I try the over-under. Oh, there he comes. A little bit of side-to-side contact. Able to hold on to it, though. All right, right in the slipstream. Look up the inside. So we'll go down the straightaway. Over the top of the hill, I think called Pilgrim's Leap. Able to get in front of Whitmore, though, into Hawthorne. The cars in front, so it's really just a battle between us now. I'm pretty sure it's for the class win. Down to second gear. Looking side to side, coming out of Sterling's up into the final corner. The way the championship worked in '66 was quite interesting for these cars. Although they do have separate class championships or class wins, it is all factored into some kind of overall championship. And so it's lap 7, final lap, then slide it in to paddock bend, a little bit wide. When we're going to look to the inside, then I'll run up to Druids. Just can't see him. There he is behind me. I'm going to try to take the apex this time. Slide it to the inside. Kick of smoke from the tires. Oh, catching the wheel. There we go. Slide it out. Whitmore far behind then. Maybe giving up on it. Slide it in. Long left-hander and onto the straightaway here. Thought we had 2 to go, but it's just the last lap. Coming to Kidney Bean corner then. Definitely get down a gear this time through here. Right to the inside. Missing the downshift with my heel there. Looking Whitmore on the outside, block the inside just a little bit. Over the top of the hill. And up to Hawthorne, down to third gear. Run it in, just touch the curb on the inside. Whitmore keeping me honest on the outside there. Right to the outside curb. Dab of the brakes coming into the right-hander again. A little bit of grass on the inside. Just catch the edge. Right, there we go. Run down now. Just a couple corners left, really. Top of the hill. Try to find an apex. Slide it in. Not too bad. Catch it through there. Down to second gear. Get the downshift this time. We'll slide it through. Sterling's there. Catch the wheel on the outside. Whitmore still behind. Can see Wayne Bailey in front still. We'll come up to the final corner, though. Just nice and easy through third gear. Get back on the throttle. All right. Whitmore trying to catch me now. I don't know if he gave it to me, being the celebrity and all, but we'll come to the line and win Class C. The Lotus Cortina. One-off ride. Got it to overrun in Paddock's Bend here. So there it is. Brian Muir gets the win in the Ford Falcon ahead of Jackie Oliver just as they started 1-2, but Rory Pierpoint coming ahead up to third place, the real winner there. Swapping spots with Teddy Savory, who finishes in fourth. Then rounding out the Group D finishers up front, Gawain Bailey finishes in fifth. We could just see them just ahead of myself. Richie Axelson taking first place for Group C. Got around a lot of the cars quite early and then was able to keep them behind me despite some of the mistakes. But John Whitmore kept me honest for the whole thing there, finishing in second place for Group C, seventh overall, with John Hine just behind. For Group B, it was Gordon Spice with Team Broadspeed's Mini Cooper, at least in our version, finishing in 9th overall and taking the Group B win. And then Bernard Unette for Group A, driving the Hillman Imp, finishing 15th overall, but getting that Group A victory. So quite an eager dash there off the line to get around some of the slower cars and get out front to battle it with John Hine and John Whitmore for the Group C class victory. A lot of little mistakes there, but held it on the track, which is most important, and Whitmore did get around me once there, bogging down in one of the gears, but good preparation, good fun ahead of the real event, the British Grand Prix. So it's about that time Richie goes and dons the Eagle Team overalls and gets ready for the race. So until the British Grand Prix, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.